So let's get some thoughts tonight from Laura Ingraham, host of the Ingraham Angle, who joins us with her thoughts on how things are looking so far. Laura, at this point in the evening, we've got some information and quite a bit more to come in.
Yeah, well, the in-person votes usually are the last to be counted, except with the mail-in ballots that are going to be rolling in postmarked today. So we have to keep that in mind. But I think when we look at Florida and focusing on the GOP for a moment, Martha and Brett, the coalition that the Republicans have been able to put together in that state is really something that they should try to replicate as much as possible going forward up and down the East Coast with a strong contingent of seniors, Latinos, young professionals, African Americans. The Republicans have outperformed, it looks like tonight, across all of those categories with higher turnouts than they had in 2016. So there was a lot of talk about how Biden was going to bring all these new voters to the fore, and indeed we'll probably find that he did. But the other story, which I think you're seeing playing out in state after state tonight, is that Trump brought more people into the party and then expanded the base from those blue-collar workers on out. So we'll see what happens as the night goes forward. But to me, Florida is the future for the Republican Party.
You know, Laura, this is just an interesting thing, and you talk about this all the time, about the president's policies toward China, being tough on China. Right now, according to the Wall Street Journal, the Chinese yuan has started to tank.
I just saw that. And what is that? Yeah.
What does that tell you?
It's very significant because it means, at least so far in the evening, they're looking at the betting odds. And I know you've probably talked about that already tonight.
Britt has.
Yeah, 64% on the overseas betting now lean toward Trump. And the Chinese are watching all of this. And right now, they are indicating to us that they believe the tariffs that Donald Trump put on a whole swath of Chinese goods, they're here to stay for the foreseeable future. And that obviously hurts their currency, at least in the short term. So that's a significant metric, but it's just how they're reading the data that's coming in right now. But I have to say, when we look at the sheer numbers of people who've turned out to vote, we had a very engaged electorate this election season. And there are a lot of people who've said that, you know, Joe Biden made a smart call and running on the pandemic and hanging back and letting Trump, you know, go out there and dominate the stage because people were tired of Trump. I think that was a, you know, really misguided way of looking at things. I think, as you saw after he recovered from COVID, he has been nonstop. And I think a lot of folks, as time went on, began to really respect that he was fighting, in their mind, for every vote that he could get in those swing states. And it was a breakneck pace. Obviously, Joe Biden could not keep up with that or didn't want to keep up with it. And those crowds, which, you know, again, a lot of people didn't want to talk about, they were a metric of energy and excitement that I just did not see replicated on the other side, at least the emotion of it, for whatever that's worth tonight. And I think in the end, the love for the country, the love for the average worker, they're going to say trumped the dislike that the left has for Donald Trump, his tone and tweets and some of his past comments.
Laura, a lot of people have wanted the president, people who support him have wanted him to focus more on the economy and on recovering from coronavirus. He really swung around to that in a stronger way in the final days as he campaigned through the course of these rallies. The NASDAQ futures are up over 3% this evening. And
wow.
It just reminds me of, you know, the discussion that was had in 2016. And I want to keep reiterating, we got a long way to go here in this evening tonight. But, you know, it was all doom and gloom that he was going to sort of make all the markets crash. And I think, you know, would never, ever recover. The stock market would never, ever recover.
Yeah,
well,
well, it was going to be. Yeah, Martha, you hit the nail on the head. In the spring, it was the Great Depression was coming. It was going to be not just a long, dark winter. It was going to be a long, dark decade. We heard some people saying, was it going to be a decade before we'd recover? How can any incumbent president overcome a depression, a pandemic, and in concern about his tone? That was never possible. And I've got to say, for whatever people think about Donald Trump, you know, the personality, he never gave up on his winning formula of policies, which is America first, enforce the border, tighten the labor market, see wages go up, which you saw $6,000 for the average family income, median family income through the last year. These were significant advances for African Americans, Latinos. Some of that is paying off tonight. I think people are worried that we're going to go into a shutdown next year as they see a lockdown happening across Europe. And I think that lockdown versus liberty dichotomy, I think in the end that ended up helping with women who want their kids back in school. And I think it began to motivate even some younger voters who, maybe were led to believe on social media that Donald Trump was a terrible, awful, rotten person. Again, we'll see as the microanalysis goes forward.
We will.
But I think a lot of people in Trump country are feeling pretty happy right now.
Yeah, Laura, thank you. I just want to point out 3.6% up on the NASDAQ futures at this point, which is a huge leap. We'll see what happens overnight. Laura, thank you.
Laura,